6 beds. This here was famous named Big Red House. We changed a lot of people's lives here. And this is where we took our first stand against the psychiatric drugging of children. Some of the guys that were in the group home still come to the location and check to see if they could find out what we were doing and things like that. We were one of the few organizations that refused to put the kids on medication. We could have been given $64,000 more a month having a 16-bed facility if we did drug the kids. But spiritually and morally, I could not do it. I had a kid in my group home who was a big kid, had a menacing look. I noticed that he was strong for his age, he was about 16 or so. And so instead of putting him on medication like they wanted him on, I took him directly to the football coach. Well, he never ended up on medication. This kid played 4 years at USC, won national championship, and played several years in the NFL. That is one of the reasons that I do what I do. How many kids are like the ones I just mentioned that could be helped if someone just took strong interest in them? But they went to great odds to shut us down, to not give us kids, to not send in payments, because we would not go with the psychiatric model. However, what it did was it lit a fire, because when we finally shut our doors, we realized the injustice and how few advocates there were for the children. The idea that there were kids out there being diagnosed with attention deficit disorder, and then that is what's being pushed into our educational system, where we're drugging our children, and there was no scientific basis for these things. They're sitting there with a monopoly, perpetuating falsehood, using it as truth to enslave people.
Prevention is important. Help prevent the spread of illness and keep yourself and others well. Avoid physical contact with others, including handshakes, fist bumps, high fives, hugs, and kisses. Learn all prevention guidelines. Download the free booklet at scientology.org/staywell. An ounce of prevention is worth a ton of cure. A Scientology Network original series. Take a fascinating look at the one and only fradulent. Don't miss Inside Scientology on Scientology Network.
I wasn't going to be able to challenge the system alone. And that's when I found the organization that could help me achieve the purpose that I had. I work with Citizens Commission on Human Rights to help me tackle the psychiatric abuses in my community. My passion is to elevate people, especially in the African American community, and to help them know the traps that are out there. There's an old saying, if you could see a trap coming, it wouldn't be a trap. This is Psychiatry and Industry at the Deaf Museum. Behind these doors is 500 years of documented history of mental health. How it's affected the Holocaust and racism in this country, electric shock. So when we come to the African American section, what we're doing here is exposing psychiatry's assault on people of color. We found in the prison system that they did psychosurgery and the drugging of inmates as experiments. And one of the psychiatrists said blacks were used for psychosurgery experiments because it was cheaper to use niggers than cats because they were everywhere in cheap experimental animals. We've toured many through the museum, nursing groups, criminal justice groups, school instructors. You have instructors making it mandatory that reports are done on this museum and it's part of their curriculum. Y'all just come on in. I'll tell you not to read this, but you're all over 18, so you're grown, so you probably do it anyway.
This is so messy.
What's that?
It's very upsetting. We're worthy when all this is going down. I would never.
Well, this kid right here, the same person that broke his leg the first day he was there at the mental hospital, killed him 18 months later. Why?
When you first visit the museum, it'll blow you away. It'll blow your mind because you run a gambit of emotions. You go from shock to anger to frustration to, okay, resolve.
I started touring CCHR when I was about 19, and I started seeing a drug that makes you suicidal is not a fix, and CCHR helped me see that. And now my mom, 6 years later, is no longer on these medications, and she's not suicidal, and she's healthy.
So I was given tours, bringing up awareness on the dangers of shock treatment. So then the next thing I knew, an alert came into CCHR warning us that psychiatrists were trying to reclassify the electric shock machine so they could administer it to more people, including children. So to understand the significance of this, it means that hundreds of thousands of African American children would become prime candidates for electric shock. We found that in several states, there are already electroshocking children. And in some states, from 0 to 5 years of age. The FDA reports some of the following effects. If you notice, it doesn't say side effects. It says effects of ECT. Severe memory loss, seizures, tremors, dementia. And so, first thing I did is make other groups in the community aware of what was going on. We're on our way to San Bernardino to do a seminar. And we're going to inform some girls that have been in gangs and some ministers what is going on in the field of mental health. They, in recent years, have electroshocked 50 children in Utah. These are the things that we're trying to prevent. Right now, while I'm talking to you, the American Psychiatric Association is trying to declassify the electric shock machine so it can be considered safe and harmless so they can use it on children across the nation. It perpetuates the industry and makes it stronger, but it's doing it on the shattered bodies and minds of people who didn't deserve that type of treatment. But I had to overcome the fact that some people will shut doors on you because you're challenging the ideas. But the thing that I did was I just kept showing up. I'm going to be meeting with the head of one of the local NAACP chapters and then have them fire out as a team to the local politicians and our... The strength of the NAACP historically has been in its ability to unify like-minded groups in the fight for civil rights. As the vice president of the NAACP Inglewood South Bay branch, we partnered with CCHR and developed a coalition to fight this. From the different communities, we're unifying so that we all can have one mind so that we can change the communities. And so National Action Network, United Neighborhood Nations, Ceasefire, all these groups start listening to what's going on. They said we have to deal with this issue of electroshock and the mass drugging of children. So in 2016, I led a protest march against the American Psychiatric Association that had about 500 people participating. We had Black Lives Matter, the NAACP, the Nation of Islam, 10,000 Fearless, the Black Clergy Council, all these groups together.
The American Psychiatric Association wants to electroshock children.
The day before the march, they changed our route. They said we couldn't march a certain way. But this was such an important issue that we could not be turned around. We could not take a route other than the route that we had chosen, other than the route we had gotten permission to take, and we just refused to adhere to this type of foolishness, and we marched on.
Anyone out here that agrees with us, get in line and march with us. That's right.
And not only that, psychologists joined forces and marched with us. When we were marching, I realized there was power in that, and that we needed to continue that type of thing. But what we do is when we go into those areas, we organize the community serious civil rights issues. We make them aware, we saturate them with an education on what's going on with mental health so that we can get the support from the surrounding community in that area, which makes the protest 500,000 people and larger.
How do you feel about ECT for kids?
Small kids and all, so I have given to students, small kids, unmanageable kids.
You know what, I gotta tell you, that's evil. You're doing that to kids.
I realized to get this message out about this electric shock that I have to pick up the pace. So we have to get the message out as many avenues as we can, going on as many radio shows, cable shows, internet shows as possible. We do not have mental health in this nation. We have mental control, and we need to label it correctly so we respond appropriately. The marches created huge awareness, but to get permanent change, I had to get legislation passed. But I had to overcome the fact that truth sometimes has a problem penetrating tradition.
Prevention is important. Help prevent the spread of illness and keep yourself and others well. Social distancing is deliberately increasing the physical space between people to avoid spreading germs. The best guideline is to maintain a distance of 6 feet from others. Learn all prevention guidelines. Download the free booklet at scientology.org/staywell. An ounce of prevention is worth a ton of cure.
It's powerful, it's passionate.
Get ready for Takeoff Tuesdays.
I think I'm after spotting a real leprechaun.
Travel the globe to world-class cities without leaving home. Watch back-to-back episodes of your favorite destination Scientology locations.
No matter where you're at in the world, you need to experience it.
Don't miss Destination Scientology Takeoff Tuesdays on Scientology Network.
We realize that the Psychs have so much money. They have the ear of the media. They have the ear of the politicians. So what we have decided to do, we have to go all in. The Black Caucus is important because it represents the black leadership in Congress and in the U.S. Senate. And to make them aware is the beginning of the process of getting laws changed. November of 2017, I went to the Congressional Black Caucus. I was able to network with several of the Congress people. Is in sheep's clothing because he is being deceptive. Not only did I represent the NAACP in speaking to them, but we also took the traveling exhibit so that they could actually see what is going on behind the curtain of mental health that they are normally not exposed to. It was kind of nerve-wracking, you know, and we're going up against some big hitters, but again, we started making major inroads and accomplishments. At that point, we had really started pushing. And what we did was we created 2 different resolutions to expose more injustice. And we decided that the NAACP would be a very good entity to try to move these resolutions through. The resolution is a fact-finding document, so when you go to the political leaders, they know that you have a backing of a national organization. So then they have to take that serious. The first resolution was a resolution that dealt with the mass drugging of children in the foster care system. The second resolution dealt with the fact that children are being subject to electroshock therapy. First of all, we had to get the Inglewood NAACP to accept it, support it, and adopt it. Then we had to forward it to the state conference of the NAACP. They found that everything that we said was true. So at that point, then they forwarded it to the national office to then investigate, look into it again, and then they determined that they're going to give it out to the national convention for a vote. So it could have been devastating if this did not go through. But I left no stone unturned. I invited national board members to come to the museum and tour and see what CCHR does. I talked to the different leaders in the black community of other NAACP branches. There is no scientific proof that electroshock is effective. It causes brain damage, organ damage, heart damage. So I submitted all of this, and then the president of the national office took it and made it his own personal resolution. And then when it went to the national floor, it was accepted and voted in with no opposition or discussion. With these resolutions passed, millions of African Americans will no longer fall prey to psychiatric abuse. And now we are pushing these resolutions forward so that they can become federal law.
Fred Shaw is really the individual who brought the passion and understanding to us.
For all of us to see how involved he is and how dedicated he is to the cause, it has done nothing but make us want to be as dedicated and committed as he is.
Fred has always been a forward looker for us, you can say. The dedication that he has and the perseverance that he has to talk about these things, to bring it to the public limelight, it should be on everyone's agenda.
This is something that people should know about. And I want to salute Pastor Shaw for, every time I call him, if he's in town, he will come to my radio show and he'll let the people know. Once Pastor Shaw shared this information with me, I just felt the need to tell the world.
And if anybody dares to debate me, any psychiatrist, anybody in the field of mental health, I will take them all on. I'm a warrior. My favorite thing is to be in the trenches, providing the information, fighting against the evil of psychiatry, and to be able to see results coming of it and people's lives being saved. It strengthens in me the dream that I had. David can beat Goliath because we keep having these victories. And I just want to continue to do this work. As long as I can breathe, as long as I can stand, I want to help my fellow man by giving them this information and arming them with the truth.
We need to come together as a united force.
I feel
suicide because of that?
No. It's about the impact that you have towards the humanity.
People can't make their lives better if they put their minds to it.
Don't miss Voices for Humanity, Wednesdays at 8 on Scientology Network.
Ciao, benvenuti, sono Maurizio, vi trovate all'interno della mia scuola di inglese Pingus English. In questa nostra sede noi facciamo appunto il corso di inglese per bambini dai 0 ai 13 anni. Questa è la nostra reception, ok? Quando i bambini arrivano, ok, trovano tutte le necessarie per igienizzarsi le mani, vediamo la temperatura e abbiamo adottato per i nostri insegnanti queste mascherine permettono, quando le utilizzi, di vedere
Thank you, Lord, that
la faccia. In questa maniera per i bambini è molto
I got it in and out.
ricevere, fare il corso e vedere naturalmente il sorriso delle nostre
With
insegnanti.
Napa State Hospital so
Il
fast,
nostro metodo è molto giocoso, si basa proprio su
Contra Costa County Courts, Judge Bruce Mills
Prego, venite con me, vi faccio vedere
has been permanently disbarred from the bench because he's unfit to serve and to protect the public.
con un tema diverso, ovviamente
Let me get the proof. They put me in Napa under a fraudulent mental evaluation. I lost my 6-bedroom house for 25 years. I was in there 3 weeks. They couldn't get me out of there fast enough. So let me tell you about the court system in Contra Costa County.